Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on the Succah Daf Yud Daled. We are going to begin on Yud Daled Amud Aleph, about 14 lines from the top, with the words Gufa. Getting back to what we said before, Kol Yodos Ochlin. When it comes to food which has a handle, so we say that if there's a din yad, if it's nichale, if it's something that you want, so then it's susceptible to tumah. It's makabel tumah. So we said that even though, let's say, you had a machshava that it's going to be for the purposes of food, however, shibasa son begorin taharos. Once you are basa son in the silo, then it becomes tahar. There's two explanations. One is that you just untied it, which is considered to be almost the level of another machshava, or it's a maisa zuta, a small action. So on this, Rabbi Yossi Matama, we can understand why there's a machlokas, whether or not a small action has the ability to be able to remove a machshava. However, as we saw also in yesterday's daf, really actually on today's daf on the top, that basa son begarin could mean that you mamish did a maisa, that you actually turned it over and you stepped on it and you moved it around. So by doing that, it makes sense why it's a maisa, and therefore the maisa should be able to remove that machshava. We end up wondering, so why would Rabbi Yossi say that in that case, even though you did a maisa, why is it an issue? So he said, because if, let's say, it still has utility, that it can be moved with a pitchfork, alternatively, it could be that when you remove it, it's going to have some utility after Sukkot. So therefore he feels that even though you did a maisa, it still has upon it the din of tumah. Okay, so let's understand this. Again, my basasan. Rav Yochanan Omer basasan mamish, you literally stepped on it, which is the maisa. Rav Lezer Omer hiter ugdan. All you did was you untied the tie, which is a maisa zufra. So Bishlam Rab Elazar Yomer basasan hiter ugdan. All you did was untie it. Hind in the matam Rav Yossi. That's why Rav Yossi holds you had a machshava. So this is not a real maisa to be able to remove that machshava of tumah, and therefore yeshul yados, and that's why it's tameh. El Rav Yochanan Yomer basasan mamish amay matama Rav Yossi, which is what we asked yesterday. Why would Rav Yossi say that if you did an action, well, that action should remove the original machshava? As we saw on the very top over here, it says Maisas Maitzim Yad Machshava. So Rav Shimon ben Lakish Hoyel Baruis L'Hochan Ba'ater. As we said before, because it still has utility that it can be moved around and utilized with a pitchfork. And therefore, since it still has this utility, if you look in Rashi, the first wide line, Aladei Hayados Ater, through the handle of the pitchfork, Vilmole Hayados, if it wasn't for the handle of this food, Ein Noichin L'Hachan Ba, it wouldn't be so easy to turn it around. Because they're so thin and small, Yoitzin Mebein Beis Uktseha, it would go between the teeth of the pitchfork. Shel Ater V'nishmatin Mimenu V'hu Kishibatat Son Tachilasan Lo Vatal Nischaven Ella L'Rachchan. What you did, your intention of to step on it was just to soften it, but really you still want the yados there, and they still have utility, so it's easier to be able to flip around with a pitchfork. Okay, now the Gemara throws in a tiny little bit of beautiful agadata after what was considered to be one of the more difficult pieces in this Masechta. Omer Belezer, Loman Nimshal Tfilashin Saldikin Ke'ater. Why do we compare the prayers of a tzaddik to a pitchfork? The purpose is you pick up the straw and the grain in one place, and it can move it to a completely different location. That the tzaddikim are able with their tefillah to be able to remove Hashem's initial feeling, so to speak, of cruelty to that of more compassion and mercy. Let's now see the next Mishnah. Nesachin ben Nesayri. We're going to understand exactly what this means. It's not so clear. It's going to be a machlokas what this means. But Divri Rabbi Yehuda is the opinion you can use wide boards for your schach. However, Rameir says no. We'll have to understand what is the basis of this machlokas. It's going to be a machlokas how to read this Mishnah. Nosel and Neser Shurachav Arba Tfachim Kshera. If you have a Neser, a board which is wide 4 Tfachim, it's kosher B'levad Shel Yishan Tachta. You're not allowed to sleep under it. So if we look at this picture over here, we see a situation where you have this board which is on the side, and it's 4 Tfachim, so this is a kosher sukkah. Apparently it's obvious. 3 of the sides are fine. This 4th side, you can't sleep underneath that board because it is schach pasel. Okay, and it's 4 tfachim. So Omer Rav. So we're going to have a machlokas over here how to read this Mishnah. Rav is of the opinion the machlokas of our Mishnah, which Rabbi Yehuda and Rameir, is b'nesern sheish ben arba. The boards are 4 tfachim. The Rameir east leg zeres tikra. Rabbi Yehuda lays leg zeres tikra. So there's technically nothing wrong with putting these boards up because it was done l'shem schach. However, the problem is these are relatively thick boards that are used also for a roof, and therefore, if a person would use this, even though it was done properly, the question is: are we geyser atu a person who ends up using these boards without the proper kavanas, and it's gzeres tikra? So that's if the boards are 4. If it's less than 4, that's not a problem, because no one is going to mistake it for a tikra for the roof because they didn't use such thin boards. Shmuel Omer says no. The machlokas is a little bit more complex. He says when it's less than 4 is a machlokas, which we'll understand what that means in a second. If it's 4, is not a machlokas. So if it's 4 tfachim, everyone holds it's possible. So where is this 1 second? What's the problem if they're tiny little boards less than 3 tfachim? They're just like regular reeds. So how could they argue with that? So this is what I mean. If it's 4 tfachim, everyone holds it's possible. If it's less than 3 tfachim, there's nothing to talk about. So keep pligi where they argue mishloisha ad arba, from 3 tfachim, which already leaves the status of lavud, up until 4, not including 4. Mar savar kivan delays nushir makoim logazrina. Since it's not the measurement of a typical 4 tefach board which is used for the roof, so we're not going to be geyser anything under 4. It's only an issue if it's 4. If it's less than 4, it's not a problem. But Mar savar no kivan de naflu materis lavud gazrina. Once we've already went beyond the step of lavud of 2.9, it's already 3 to almost 4. That already is a reason to be geyser, and that's the reason why, according to the shita of Rameir, who aser. So again, the machlokas of our Mishnah of using wide boards between Rabbi Yehuda and Rameir is a machlokas between Rav and Shmuel how to interpret it. Rav says the whole machlokas is if the board's 4, whether we are geyser gzeres tikra. Less than 4 is not a problem. According to Shmuel, it says no. If it's 4, is puzzle. If it's less than 4, it's between 3 and 4. That's where the machlokas is. But everyone holds certainly less than 3 is not an issue. It's not. So now let's analyze our Mishnah a little bit better. So it said that a person is not allowed to have this board, which is 4 tfachim, to sleep under it. If you put it on the side, as we saw the picture a few minutes ago. Now, I can understand according to Shmuel. And he says that if it's less than 4, there's the machlokas of yesh behen arba divrei kol psula yishum hafel yishun tachta. According to Shmuel, makes sense. Both opinions hold that a board which is already 4 tfachim is a problem, and that's the reason why the Mishnah says if you have a 4 tefach board, you can't sleep under it. El Rav Yer Rabbi Sheish behen arba machlokas. He says no, the whole machlokas by 4 of ein behen arba divrei kol sheira. the whole machlokes is at 4, but if it's less than 4, everyone holds it's okay. Rabbi Yehuda, my will yisham tachto. I can understand Rameir, but how do you understand Rabbi Yehuda? Rabbi Yehuda holds that such a board is kosher. So why couldn't you sleep under it? Because me savrit divir kolhi sevaton Rameir. Our Mishnah is talking about Rameir. So according to this pshat, the machlokas is if it's exactly 4 tefachim. So obviously, if you hold a 4 tefach board is kosher, not goyzer gezeres tikra, so then obviously you can sleep under it. It's not a problem. The whole sukkah, the whole skach can be 4 tefachim. Every single board, it's not a problem. However, Pishit is Rameir, he is goyzer on a 4 tefach board, which is the reason why he says if everything else is skach kosher, except there's one board which is 4 tefachim, which is not, it's too big, it's fine, but you just can't sleep under it. Toshma, Shnei Sedinin Mitzdarfen. 2 sheets are mitzdaref. 2 sheets combined. Now, what exactly does that mean? So you can see this picture over here. If you have 2 sheets that are in the middle, and they're not considered kosher schach, they're mitzdaref to cause problems. It says Rashi on the bottom. L'arba tefachim. To even 4 tefachim, lifsol b'sukkah mishum schach pasul. So as we mentioned in yesterday's daf, that once you have in the middle, or actually we saw in Rashi on yesterday's daf, that if in the middle is schach pasul, 4 tefachim, that's pasul. Even if you have 2 sheets that each of them are less than 4, but combined together equals 4, it will be mitzdaref, and therefore the sukkah will be pasul be'emsa at 4. That's what it means shnei sedin mitzdaref. As we continue to Yudal and Maves. However, Shnei Mitzarim ein Mitzdarfim. 2 boards will not be Mitzdarf. So if we look over here, that we have over here a picture of these 2 boards, and it mentions the number 3. So each of them are not 4 tefachim, and therefore they are not Mitzdarf, which means that since each of them are kosher unto their own, so therefore it's allowed to be used as a kosher sukkah. Now let's understand this statement. Rameir Omer af nesarim k'sedinin. Rameir is chayil because says no. These boards have the same din as the sheets and the star. Now Bishul Mishmol Yermer B'Shem Behen Arba Machlokas. The whole Machlokas is if the boards are less than 4, Avayesh Behen Arba Devrikol Psula. But if the boards are 4, it's a puzzle. So my mitzdarfim l'arba. So it's saying that they're mitzdarf to 4 tefachim. Elo Rab Yermer B'Sheish Behen Arba Machlokas. Whole Machlokas if the boards, even if the board is 4, there's an opinion that it's kosher. But let's say the boards are less than 4, everyone holds it's okay. So if the board is 4, according to the sheet of Rameir, you don't need to combine board 1 and board 2. One board alone is an issue because if the board is 4 tefachim, it's puzzle by itself. If it's less than 4, so they're just like regular reeds. Why would you think, and how could you be mitzdarf them? How could we say, according to Rameir, that you mitzdarf? They're just like regular skach. Well, really it's 4. So the question is, if each board is 4 tefachim, so be'emsa, it passes right away at 4 tefachim. So what does it mean mitzdarf? So by mitzdarf l'arba amos min atzad, which teaches us again what we also saw in yesterday's Rashi, that schach pasel passes when it comes to the middle of the sukkah at 4 tefachim. However, because of dofen akuma, if it's on the side, it will only passel at arba amos. So therefore, if you have these boards, if you're mitzdarif to arba amos, then it will become passel. And therefore, even though those boards are actually 4 tefachim, so by itself, a 4 tefach board on the side is not a problem. We just said you can't sleep under it. However, the rest of the sukkah is fine. But if that is the third wall, and we say that the wall bends only up to, but not including daled amos, so it becomes problematic if you're mitzdarif all these 4 tefachim boards, because we'll be mitzdarif min atzad to arba amos and opasa. Lish nachrin. Here's another lashon, another interpretation. Bishlam l'shmuel d'yermer b'shem v'hen arba machlokes. I can understand according to Shmuel that The machlok is if the boards are less than 4. Of a yeshben or they were called psula, my mistar almost minute sad, which is what you just said. El Rab Bishlam Rab Meir, my mistar almost minute sad. I can understand what again it's mistar on the side to 4 amos. El Rabbi Huda de Rafil yeshben or buck share. Since even if the boards are 4 tefachim, you can mamish use it for schach. So my aim at starfin. Even those boards which are 4 tefachim, according to him, it's fine. So there's no issue of being mistarif. It's no mistarif. Mistarif means it will be mistarif to passel it. But these boards are kosher to be used as schach outright. So her answer is you're right. I did a kamera meir mitztarfin, Rabbi Yehuda aim mitztarfin. But the truth is, it has nothing to do with mitztarfin or not mitztarfin, because the truth is, according to him, there are 4 tefachim boards, and 4 tefachim boards are allowed to be used as schach, and you'll have to sleep under it. And if you have a whole bunch of them, cover up your entire sukkah, it's still kosher according to him. Tani Gavas the Rab, Tani Gavas the Shmuel. Tani Gavas the Rab. Schachel ben Asarim Shel Erez, a person who uses schach, which is made out of cedar wood. Shein behen or ba, divra kok shera. So he says explicitly that if it is less than 4 tefachim, then it's kosher. Yesh bar arba, then we have this machlokus. Rameir Paisel, Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, which is exactly what he said. That's how he interprets it. The Machlokas, Rameir Rabbi Yehuda, is when the boards are 4 tefachim, whether we say Gzeres Tikra. And then we say a story. Rabbi Yehuda Masad is Shasa Sakana, which we just throw that small, but not actually so small detail. Shavienu Nesarim, they brought boards, Shoy Behen Arba, that the boards were 4 tefachim. So again, it's a problem, it's a Machlokas. V'sichenu Al Gabi Par Safet, Mafrases, and they put the schach on the top of the porch. V'yeshavnu tachtei, and they sat underneath there. So again, the whole, it's a machlokus. There's an opinion that says it's not allowed. And the question is Gzeres Tikra. This is V'shasa Sakana. Because V'shasa Sakana, so we sometimes Eis L'Asla Hashem. So we can be a little bit more lenient in this circumstance. Tani Gavas Nishmo. Sach ben Asarim Shel Erez. Again, you use these boards on cedar. Sheish ben Arba divrei kol psula. So according to him, that's what he holds. If it's 4 tefachim, it's puzzled according to all opinions. Ein ben Arba or Meir Pais Rabbi Yehuda Machshir, which means, of course, between 3 and 4. The Moed Rameir Shim Yesh Bein Nesel and Neser Kavali Neser. If let's say between each of these boards you put, you have the same space as the Neser. Sheminich Pesel B'neihem V'Kashra. So you can put board, you can put schach kosher there, and that will be acceptable. That's something in which he says you're allowed to do, and that will be kosher. And you can see in this picture, the reason is, if let's say this whole sukkah, it says is 8 amos. Make sure I have the right picture over here. This picture is 8 amos. So you can have dofen akum on both sides, and then in the middle, you'll end up touching schach kosher, and therefore you have schach kosher in the middle. So you can say dofen akum on both sides. The pachal is from dalad amos on both sides, and in the middle is the kosher sukkah. If you have a board which is 4 tefachim wide, share bein yishin tachta. However, you should not sleep under it. Let's look at question 4. Question 4. Shnei nesarim, 2 boards, ein mitztarfin, don't combine. Rameir oimer af nesarim k'sedinin, boards do combine just like the sheets. Ve'elu nesarim ma'ari, what boards are we talking about? And what does it mean mitztarfin? So according to Shmuel, we're talking about the boards are not dalid, and they're mitztarf to dalid, the passel in the middle of the sukkah. According to Rav, he says the boards are 4 tefachim, and it's mitztarf dalid amos to passel min hatzad, arba amos min hatzad. Itmar hachan al sidehen. Let's say you turned the boards not flat this way, but in this direction. As you can see in this picture, that the schach is being stood up so that the part which should be lying up against the schach is actually flipped over on its side. So when it comes to this, Rav Huna Amar Psul, Rav Chisda, Rav Huna Amar Kshera. So we say that this is a machlokus. So Ikar Rav Nachman l'Sura. So he went to Surah, and Oil Gabe Rav Chisda, Rav Huna Amrulei, Halchan al Sidein Mahu. This exact case, what's the din? Sharmahu Psula. it certainly is possible, because nasu kishvudin shel mataches. The way that you created it, they're comparable to like spits of metal, and therefore because of it, it's not kosher. Why was it said that it said like me? Mar taima. Did you ever say a reason? That was not makabla from you. Certainly, I knew it was you. Is there any time that a reason was said and it was not said to you? In other words, again, it was quoted from me. Let's say we have a circumstance in which the sukkah is not machzekes, is not big enough to be able to hold roishai v'ruba v'shulchanai, so it's too small. Or shenifritza b'partza, there is a breach on the bottom of the wall, and it's so big, kedei shiz dakir b'gidi b'vas roish, that a goat is able to stick its head through that space. As you can see in this picture here, that there's this huge gap in the wall to the point that a gedi, that this kid, this goat, is able to go through it. Or you have boards that are wide 4 tefachim. Now afal pi shaloi hichnes l'saycha el shlosh tefachim sula. Even if, let's say, you didn't use that entire board by where the wall is, but you can see in this picture, part of it is protruding out of the sukkah, so you would think maybe this board is not a problem. We only look at it as a 3 tefach board and not a 4 tefach board. So we say, doesn't matter, it's psula. This board cannot be used because it's a 4 tefach board. Now, hey chidavi, what is this case? My lab, going shahofchan al sidayin. We're trying to say that maybe it's talking a case where it was flipped on its side, and we see over here it's a raya that's possible. Lo, going, as we already saw this in the picture, the amcha puma de b'talasa, that you took this 4 tefach board flat, but you put it at the edge of the sukkah, the idol talasa 3 of the tefachim are inside, the apikchad levar, and 1 of the tefachim is out. The habile pesel yotzim in the sukkah. Whole pesel yotzim in the sukkah needing to sukkah. Even though you could say, well, it's not a 4 tefach board. Okay, it is a 4 tefach board, but only 3 of it is in the sukkah. But we have a din that any pesel, a sukkah, which has schach, in which some of it goes out of the sukkah, that has the same din as it being in the sukkah. And therefore, it's kiyu like it's a 4 tefach board, and therefore that would be problematic according to those opinions. But it's a lav dafka raya that if you flip the board on its side, whether or not it be kosher or puzzle, so that would then actually bring proof to or refutation against. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see a couple more questions. TA 24. Mesachin b'nesarim. So we said you use these boards. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Meir Oyser, be'elu nesarim pligi. So what exactly are these boards that they're arguing about? So we said it's either 4, right? And it says be'elu nesarim ksher mechol adayis. So according to one opinion, the machlokas is by 4, or the machlokas is by 4. It's definitely possible. Less between 3 and 4 is an issue, but less than 3, talks with Gimel, everyone will hold it is kosher. Fine. TB 26. Nosan al neser rachab dalet. Afal pi shel hichel soicha el Gimel tfachim sula. There's oifen meduber kan l'maskana umadua psula. So what we just saw, that the din is that even though 3 of the tefachim actually was in the sukkah, and 1 of the tefachim was protruding out of the sukkah, so the din is, you would think, okay, so it's not a 4 tefach board. No, because we have the din called pesel yotzim in the sukkah, nidon kasukkah, and therefore it's like a 4 tefach board, and that is the reason why it is problematic. Adkan.